Warning: the following story, featuring St. LAZ, has descriptions of violence, armed robbery, and use of firearms. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey yo, St. LAZ, this is my exclusive story for Sleeper Cell 41, the YouTube channel. If you're a true crime junkie like me, make sure you subscribe today. Different neighborhoods in New York got different hustles. You got some hoods where, they hell-bent on the drug game. You got some hoods where they was hell-bent on snatching pockets. Going after big knots in pockets. You got some hoods that was into snatching diamonds. Some cats do strong arm robberies. It was a lot of hustles in New York City. There was a lot of different styles of crime going on in the city. But in my hood, where I grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, we was well known and renowned for one particular art. And that was the art of chain-snatching. Now, I'm not saying Brownsville ain't have a bunch of drug kingpins and stick-up kids and bank robbers, and I'm not saying Brownsville ain't have that. But Brownsville, Brooklyn kind of perfected the art of chain snatching. No gold chain was safe in Brownsville, Brooklyn. You heard? And anybody familiar with the area, they know about Pickin' Ave. Now, Pickin' Ave nowadays is nothing like it was in the 80s. Nothing like it. Back in the 80s, if you went to Brownsville and you went to Pickin' Ave, people warned you. Yo, you going to Brownsville? Don't go on Pickin' Ave with no jewelry on. Don't go on Pickin' Ave with no bunch of money in your pocket. Pickin' as well as Belmont. You getting on that 60 bus, that 12 bus, you better be on point, because there's a bunch of chain snatchers, and these was facts. Now, back in the days, it was squads on Pickin' and Belmont. Belmont, they used to do a lot of pocket snatching. One time, I was in my projects. I think I'm coming from the Chinese restaurant in Howard. This had to be in like 90, 91. And they got the chicken market. I may have spoke about this before, but it's relevant to this story. They got the chicken market in Brownsville, where a lot of West Indians go to buy their chicken. So one time I seen some old man, he probably was an old Jamaican dude or whatever. I seen some old man walking down the street, coming up the block from Belmont towards Pickin' Avenue, across from 61 Thafford in Howard Projects. And I seen these two individuals, they ran up behind the old man, dug in his pockets, snatched his money out his pockets, and kept it moving, running. That old man dropped his bags on the floor, pulled out an old, what looked to be a 22 revolver, long joint, that 22 long revolver. It could have been that, or it could have been a 32 revolver, but whatever it was, he dropped them bags, pulled that hammer out, and just started blamming. Bloom, 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 bloom. And the dudes that was running with his money, they had to duck and get low, and we all had to duck, because he was firing that shit into the projects. Bloom, 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 bloom. Niggas ran past me. I just got low. You feel what I'm saying? But the man had to be about 75 years old, and he was blowing that shit. You understand? He had been warned about Pickin' and Brownsville. He had been warned about Belmont and Pickin' Avenue. But anyway, back in the days, you had squads of dudes. You had Sean Lee and them dudes that just played the Chinese restaurant right there on Pickett. They had a squad. If you came through with anything crazy on your neck or in your pockets, they was after it, but especially on your neck. You heard? Chain-snatching season was in effect in the 80s and in the early 90s in Brownsville. So if you came to Pickett Avenue to go to Universal Sneakers or something like that, man, listen, you better be on point. If you was going to Harry's and Simon's and you think you was popping out with chains on, glittering and Gucci links and Cubans and whatever you had on, you had better knew somebody, be gripped up and ready to go, or something. Because if nobody knew you and you was running around Pickett Avenue or Belmont with a good chain on your neck and your face, like my nigga John Dilly would say, if that facial recognition software ain't go off in niggas' heads and they ain't know you, I don't care who you was, bro. Niggas was trying to come for your neck. You heard? Pause. But I done seen hundreds of motherfuckers get they chain snatched, and chain snatching at one time became a real hustle where motherfuckers are snatching the gold off of people's neck and going straight to the scales. In the Ville, they had a place called Night Scales. You heard? Where 24 hours a day you could bring a stolen gold chain and get that shit pawned and get some money. So the shit was a straight hustle. Niggas need 500 in their pocket. Niggas will go out and snatch a good chain and bring that shit to the scales and just get 500. You understand what I'm saying? Or 200 or 300 or whatever they could get for that jewelry. But it was a bona fide hustle. And dudes was coming for that gold. You heard? And me personally, I never really got into the chain snatching thing because I was a chubby little dude and I wasn't running so fast. And even when I wasn't chubby, I just really wasn't with the chain snatching stuff. But it was a sport that I was interested in. You feel what I'm saying? And that I kept up on the statistics of the players. We done caught a couple of dudes like that in Brownsville. If you was in our age group and you came through with a chain on your neck, you was getting yapped. You understand what I'm saying? But I wasn't into the sport, the Pickett Avenue sport and the Belmont sport. I was a young spectator. You feel what I'm saying? But I done seen some great snatchings. And that's a fact. You know, and I don't want to throw mad dudes, I don't want to throw dudes' names out there. You know what I mean? Because nowadays, chain snatching is frowned upon and looked at as, you know, petty criminal stuff. But back in those days, it was a straight hustle, bro. You running around with gold on your neck, niggas is snatching that and taking that to the scales, period. You feel what I'm saying? And if it was something that dudes was too thick to snatch off your neck, then, you know, that's when dudes took it to hammers. But I've heard legendary stories about many legendary Brownsville cats, and I actually tried to get a couple of them to tell their chain snatching stories, but you know, dudes ain't too motivated to tell those stories. But they great stories nonetheless. One of the dudes I know from Howard, know what I mean, from back in the days, son tried to snatch a chick earrings. I don't know if it was her earrings or her chain, but I think it was most likely her earrings. On the 60 bus coming down Rockaway Avenue, son tried to snatch her earrings and run off the bus, and shorty pulled out a little deuce or a deuce 5 and hit son in his neck. Bang! I mean, and you know, son could have killed son, but luckily she didn't kill son. And you know, son just had like a couple of nervous issues from getting shot in his neck for that. But you know, he a dude who told me, he said, man, listen, man, don't sleep on no chicks. A chick shot me, could have killed me. And he told me the story of how he snatched the earrings on the 60 bus and shorty just opened fire on the bus. And son, son was laid out right there on Rockaway and Pickett Avenue. So the chain snatching game was also dangerous. It was not a game. Like, you could snatch a chain off of somebody and they blow your head off. Know what I mean? They chase you down and blow your head off, or they come back a week later, see you and blow your head off. So, you know, it wasn't just it wasn't all fun and games. Plenty of motherfuckers lost their lives fucking with that chain snatching game. And that's a whole fact. Like, you know, as a kid growing up in Brownsville, you know, I became obsessed with jewelry also. Now, I mean, it was only right in Brownsville, like, you know, gold was looked at as some shit. And you had dudes, you know, in my projects that they was heavy. I mean, dudes like Boo Bear, I mean, G.O., all of these dudes like Prada, Jabbo, Dorian, just to name a few. But it was a whole bunch of dudes in Brownsville who necks was stupid. Dudes had fronts in their mouth, 4 fingers, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, cables, Gucci's. Know what I mean? Like, you was coming up seeing all of that. Know what I mean? So I couldn't wait to get me a chain by any means necessary. But remember one time when I used to go to graphics, I used to be with my bro from Brownsville Houses. I ain't gonna mention his name. But I met son in the school. He like, yeah, I'm from the Ville, son, da-da-da. And you know, when some Brownsville niggas meet each other in Manhattan, they start having a Brownsville off. That means they start competing with who's the most Brownsville nigga now that they not in the Ville and they in Manhattan somewhere. So my bro was like, yo, son, word of mother, I yap something right now. Know what I mean? So he like, yo, let's go up to Martin Luther King. So we go up to Martin Luther King High School and the train station and all of that. And he looking for somebody to yap. I'm thinking son is bluffing. You feel what I'm saying? He talking to me 1 minute. He like, yeah, son, blah, 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 word to mother. Let me see somebody with a crazy herc on. I'm getting that shit. Now, I mean, I'm like, yo, this nigga, I don't know son like that. So I'm like, yo, this nigga bullshitting, man. He ain't gonna yap something. And sure enough, son saw a nigga and yapped him. Bling! Know what I mean? And if I'm not mistaken, I think he got caught. I can be mistaken, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he got caught and locked up. And then I seen him days later in the school. He like, yo, son, I told you I was going for it. I'm like, yo, this shit is real. These motherfucking, this chain snatching shit is real in Brownsville. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. The sport was serious. And it was some serious players in the sport that was averaging heavy numbers with that chain snatching thing. You heard? My cousin was another motherfucker that'll yap something. You feel me? I remember when he popped up in the projects with something crazy, came from out of town hustling with niggas and came back to the P's with something crazy on his neck. I saw that shit, I was like, damn, I got to get me a chain. You heard? When you young like that, you be so impressionable. You see your older cousin with a nice chunky hurt, you be like, damn, I gotta get my shit. Know what I mean? But I wasn't even on that level to have a chain yet. But I would one day get that shit because of all the chains I done seen in the Ville and all the dudes I done seen with big good hurts hanging from their neck. You heard? Pause. But like, yeah, man. So one of my mans, who I ain't gonna mention, he grew up with me in Brownsville and shit, and he wasn't always a criminal. Now, I mean, he's not a criminal, but at this time he was doing criminal shit, and he wasn't always like that. Son came to New York, moved to New York. His family came from Puerto Rico or whatever, and he moved to New York. Son was a regular motherfucker, good kid. You understand what I'm saying? That was into things that kids was into, video games, sports, shit like that. But he moved into a treacherous building, 1548 in my projects. And basically that was the most dangerous building in the whole piece. You heard? His son grew up in that building, man, and that building was crazy. And the type of people who was getting money in that building, who was living in that building, and the type of stuff and the history of that building, it was crazy. The type of stuff that was going on in that building was crazy. And son grew up around all of that shit, living in Howard Projects in Brownsville. You feel what I'm saying? Son was excellent in sports. Son was a monster in video games. He was a good motherfucking kid. You understand what I'm saying? Just trying to be a kid. But those Brownsville streets will turn your ass out. Those Brownsville streets will make you stop giving a fuck. You understand what I'm saying? About being a kid. Those Brownsville streets will make some motherfuckers lose hope on being anything positive in life. Niggas like, man, fuck that. You understand what I'm saying? It's hard. It's hard when you live in the projects. It's hard when you live in a housing projects in the ghetto. You understand what I'm saying? To see the silver lining in the clouds is hard, bruh. So I remember one day, I don't know where I was going, but I seen a bro and I'm like, yo, I'm going to the train station. Where you going? He like, yo, man, shit, I'm looking for some motherfucking money. I need some money, son. I'm broke. I ain't got no money. I'm like, damn, son, I'm broke too. You feel me? He like, yo, I'm gonna get on the train with you. So we get on the train, we get on the L train at Atlantic Avenue in Brownsville. Right across from the tunnel that you go under to go to Broadway Junction. The L train at Atlantic Avenue. We on that L train, right? So at this time, like I said, this is my man. And we a little bit in the streets now. We a little bit hanging around the tough guys now. We a little bit accepted by the gun busters and the killers, basically. So we kind of feeling ourselves, but me, I'm a late bloomer. So I wasn't into certain things yet. You feel what I'm saying? I might have been into carrying guns and holding guns and being around a lot of shit going down, but I wasn't completely sold on the street life altogether as of yet. You feel what I'm saying? But so we on the train one day. We on that train on Atlantic Avenue. We get on the train on Atlantic Avenue and we start going up some stops and we going into Bushwick. So my son is like, yeah, son, if I see somebody with something, I'm going for it, my nigga. I'm gonna keep it real with you. So in my head, I'm like, this nigga bullshitting. Like, he trying to impress me to show me that he ready to yap something or whatever. I don't think this nigga gonna yap nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So he looking through the train. He looking through the train for somebody to yap. We riding for a couple of stops and shit, know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, son spots something. So he slides off to me, you know, to not make me look like I'm his accomplice. He just slides off from me and goes elsewhere in the train car. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm like, in my head, I'm still saying, this nigga frontin', man. He ain't gonna yap nothing. You feel what I'm saying? And son was dead serious. He zoned in on his target and he spun off, and it was a chick that was standing by the door, and she had on like a silk blouse with a nice little gold chain, a nice little sized gold chain on. And she was standing by the door, and that's a no-no. That's rule number 1. You understand what I'm saying? Don't stand, if you got valuables on, you understand what I'm saying, and you not on point and from that walk of life, don't be standing by the door, because somebody could easily snatch your shit and run off. But anyway, she was standing leaning up on the door with the silk blouse on and a nice gold chain. And my man peeped it, and he walked past and spun off and just yapped her. Wow! And slid out the door. But when he yapped her, he made a mistake and grabbed her shirt too and ripped her whole blouse off, and her titties popped out on the train, bro. Shit was crazy. The people in the car started screaming, oh my God, oh my God. She was trying to cover up her titties. Man, it was a bad look. And I just watched my man grab that chain and run off and run down the stairs of the train station. And I seen son the next day or later on that day or whatever. But when it happened, I remember saying to myself, damn, man, my son is gone. You heard? The streets got him. Brownsville got him. He's officially a Brownsville chain snatcher. You feel me? And when I seen son later, I was like, yo, son, man, you ripped that chick's shirt off, my nigga. He like, yo, bro, I ain't mean to do that shit, man. You know what I mean? He like, I know, son, I ain't mean to do that shit. I meant to just grab the chain. I ain't mean to rip her shirt like that. But son ripped her shirt off. Her titties was out. Shit was looking crazy. The whole train saw that shit. And after that, I just got low for the rest of the ride. Went to wherever I was going to, probably the arcades in Manhattan or something. Shout out to Eastchester Projects in the Bronx. Shout out to my bro Gunny Walker, you heard? But like, yeah, man, that shit was crazy. And when that shit happened, I just basically said to myself, my son is gone, man. Know what I mean? My son is in them streets. And you know, after that, he was basically utilized by the niggas in the projects. Like once they know son was the type of nigga that will yap something, he was utilized by niggas. And he started becoming accepted by motherfuckers that a lot of niggas long to be accepted by. You feel what I'm saying? But overall, we was young. We grew up in the crack era. Our families was poor. Our families was naive to the streets. And New York was a wild place. The crime was through the roof. The drugs in the streets was through the roof. And this is the type of shit our youth was getting into. This is the type of shit black youth and Hispanic youth was getting into in these days and times. And son could have got murdered. It could have been a cop right there that saw that shit, chased him down the stairs, shot him in his back. Shit he would never do today, because he's a grown-ass man that knows that that shit is unacceptable. But growing up in Brownsville in the 80s and the 90s, that shit was the in shit to do. Yap shit, rob shit, man, woman, whoever. You feel me? I know niggas that walked up to beautiful chicks, dripping with jewelry, acting like they was gonna press them and bag them, and just yap their earrings and kept it moving. You feel what I'm saying? That 60 bus, that 12 bus, it was treacherous. You heard? If you was silly enough to wear some door knockers or shells on those buses, or you was brave enough, you was a bad motherfucker, because trust me, motherfuckers was out to yap them shits. And that's a fact. And that's just a little Brownsville history, man. You heard? Pickett Avenue, Belmont, the whole Ville. It was chain snatch land. And if you wasn't from out there and you was running around with some jewels on, niggas would come for you. And like I said, if they felt that you may be gripped up or you may be tough, that's when the hammers came out. But if nobody ain't know you and they could get away with just yapping you and keeping it moving, they was yapping you and keeping it moving. You heard? But yeah, man, Z-Man Suicide Polo with the ski man running around the hood like He-Man. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, Sleeper Cell 41, if you a true crime fanatic like me. You heard? Z-Lord. St. Laz, Z-Man Suicide Polo with the ski man. And this is my exclusive story for Sleeper Cell 41. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel now.